To Your Eternity is a goddamn great show. And if you aren't currently watching it, you should really, really get on it, like, right now. Because this show is just... it's just fantastic. It just makes me feel so good. The basic premise is we follow this immortal orb that's been cast down to Earth in search of stimulus. And we follow them on this journey as they go and try to search the world and meet all these amazing people who really essentially show them what it means to become human. And this show can get really, really messed up. Like, it kills off characters like Game of Thrones, just left, right, and center. If you care about them, they're gonna die. However, I'm simply here to talk about the amazing first episode it gave us. Now, I found this whole series basically just on a whim. I was looking through Crunchyroll, and then when I had a look at this show, I saw there was a doggo in the first episode, so naturally I clicked for doggo. And while I clicked for doggo, I stayed for this show playing my heart like a goddamn fiddle. This first episode is probably one of the best pilots I've seen in a while, as it manages to hook me completely from the get-go on everything. The characters, the world, just the story. I was completely invested, and I also proceeded that night to binge watch the rest of the episodes that were out, which I believe was about halfway at this point. It felt like this series just did something that not a lot can do, and that's start off on one of the best notes and completely invest you on a story that you are yet to see. Lots of modern pilots kind of dropped the ball on this one, and I'm sure we've all had friends that recommend us a show saying, "Oh, it's gonna be awesome, you 100% love this series," and we'll watch the pilot episode and maybe the first two and think, this shit garbage. I mean, how many people say that the pilot episode is their favourite episode of any show? However, I really do think this one has a strong contender to be possibly one of the best episodes of the series. And this is not because it's a pilot. It's a goddamn short film. So here's a list, and everything basically I'm going to quickly talk about To Your Eternity, because all of these aspects are what make it a really, really damn good pilot. Oh, and if it wasn't obvious, spoilers for the first episode 100%, so if you haven't gone to watch it, I highly recommend doing it right now. It's like 25 minutes of your life. If you don't want to read because you're dumb, there is a dub version out right now. Honestly, just go watch it. It's worth your time. Alright, let's get started. As the episode opens, we are introduced to Fushi. Oh, wait, I can't. Oh, no, I can say that. I said spoilers. Screw it. We are introduced to Fushi, an immortal orb whose whole desire in life is to find stimulus. And then he is just yeeted down from heaven by God onto Earth just for shits and gigs. From here we learn of Fushi's ability to transform as we watch him go from orb to Dwayne The Rock Johnson to Dwayne The Rock Johnson with hair, and then finally into dog after watching a dog die in front of him. Very sad. Technically, while he has achieved consciousness, Fushi is still an object and he isn't meant to have any personality. However, I would argue that this is completely false, and once achieving consciousness and feeling his first pain, this is when his personality is starting to develop. Fushi has a very empathetic personality that is shown throughout the series, which is also highlighted more on later in the series, especially when he spends more time around humans. To explain, in science there's this tiny debate called the nature-nurture debate, where scientists argue for either side, stating that your personality is either determined by your genes and what you're born with, or it develops over time due to the environment and care you receive as a child. Everything I say here is completely factual. I did a whole religious essay on this. Honestly, I'm a bit of a scientist myself, you could say. And honestly, we can see really early on that he starts to get his own feelings. For example, when he actually reaches the boy's house, smells all the food, feels the warmth, and actually has a roof over his head, we see how the narrator states that if Fushi could talk, it would state how it would want to stay here forever. Fushi has likes, it has dislikes, and this continues throughout the series. We begin to watch him develop his own real personality and way of dealing with other people. So to just say he has no personality is just wrong, because really it's just developing like a child learning about the world and trying to figure out how to deal with others based on past experiences and feelings. Whew, only halfway through the character part and still got one more to go. Alright, let's talk about... So from here, the episode takes a shift from Fushi towards the unknown name boy, who I wish I could call something else, but he literally has no other name, and I feel uncomfortable calling him Luke. Anyway, this kid has the most main character energy that's not a main character I've ever met. And because of this, we kind of instantly put him in the main character slot, because I mean, he's got a bubbly personality in a really, a really depressing situation. So it really does feel like he's the one we'll be following and rooting for because we instantly connect with him. And while the boy is constantly smiling, he is aware that just waiting here, he is just slowly rotting away and waiting for people that may never come back. And this is shown perfectly through the most basic music video metaphor ever, where the guy decides to hide his emotions behind a mask of happiness. Advanced metaphors! Yay! However, the boy isn't completely blocking off these negative emotions, instead he's kinda choosing to transfer them onto Fushi. The voice he gives Fushi is constantly complaining how the food doesn't have enough fucking lamb sauce, and how that he doesn't believe they'll make it to the mountain that the boy believes his family's at. And this is where the thoughts stay. At least until they find the broken settlement. This is when the boy fully gives up. He no longer wants to continue, and after everything that's happened, he finally fully admits that it was him who's been downing himself the whole time. Honestly, I think the boy would have just given up and fully died here if it wasn't for Fushi. Him seeing Fushi at least brings him back a little bit and allows him to give him some sense of will to keep going. However, it's not to continue the journey, it's to go home. By the time he's home, the boy has already put back on his mask, and I believe he does this for the very same reason that he puts it on in the first place. When he thinks about his dire situation, he starts to lose hope and gives in to despair, and I just goddamn realized how much that sounds like a goddamn Danganronpa video. He gives into his grief and no longer wants to survive. When he has the mask on though, he is actually happy, or at least pretends to be ignorant to the terrible, terrible situation he's in. Even in his last moments, he chooses to accept the belief that his family is still alive, sitting in his chair stating how this is how he looks best and how he wants his family to see him, choosing to take on this belief and dying with a smile on his face. And when he passes on to the afterlife, we finally actually get to see him be happy, reunited with his family and free to try all the amazing things he wanted to, just as he wanted to do when he was alive. Alright, so To Your Eternity's tone is just absolutely goddamn brutal and unforgiving. Remember when I said the unnamed boy gave off main character energy? Well, I did mean that. I honestly thought the rest of the series would be us following this unknown boy and this immortal dog of his as they explored the world, finding out all the amazing things about it and dealing with some of the really shit things about it too. But clearly that's not happening anymore. To have him built up as this character that we'll be following for a while and someone we care about, just to have him die by the end of the first episode is just very unrewarding, it feels like. And that's exactly what this show loves to do. This show just absolutely loves to take everything happy and special that you love, shove that shit in a blender, blend it all up, and then extract slowly and painfully every ounce of happiness from it until you have nothing and you're crying like a little bitch. That's the best metaphor I have for that. Yeah, I'm not going to talk too much more about the other episodes to come, but this is a trend that is consistent throughout, and for the show, it's not just doing this for the shock factor, it's doing it for a reason, and that reason is Fushi. Fushi has been born into this world, and these actions are showing very early on, this world is not to be messed with. It's dark, it's gritty, and there is a lot of death, all for except him. And he has to live with every single thing that happens. Just like us as the audience, he has very little to no control over everything that happens. And this is a really cool theme that is explored later on. However, until then, as Fushi and an audience, all we can do is watch as we get good things and then immediately get kicked back down as they're taken away from us. However, we still come back episode after episode to try and just see if Fushi can get some happiness and retain it for as long as he can before it's just ripped away again. And honestly, I really hope Fushi can have the chance to experience that one day. But that day is not today, and until then... Alright, this video is getting too long already, and I've still got 3 more things to talk about, so time for a speed round. 1 minute, get all this out. Ready? 3, 2, 1, let's go. First things first is world building. We are given a very harsh world that is very rooted in reality, where not everything is happy and not everything is perfect. We are also introduced to Fushi and the more mystical elements of the show, like the immortals and also gods, which will come into play later on. Also on Fushi, we are also shown about his powers and given all the information we need to understand it. Alright, next thing up is sound. Sound design is absolutely amazing, and the music is very misleading in scenes sometimes, playing very happy and upbeat music against very sad and dark moments, allowing for good contradictory between the two emotions and confusion within the audience. Lastly, animation. Animation is absolutely great. To the environment, to the characters, is just smooth flow, and the environments have so much life. Even the cold tundra just looks so cool. Also, Fushi's transformations and healing is just absolutely amazing, like the parts where all the parts just fly back onto him, and the twisting is just so unnatural, yet it looks so natural at the same time, like it's just, it's genius, I love it. And done! Alright, on to the last part. I've been thinking of how to describe this perfect pilot for ages, and honestly, I think the best way I can describe it is that this episode isn't an introductory to the rest of the series, it's its own journey. Honestly, this first episode is so tight and well done and invokes so much emotion that the rest of the series past this feels almost like a continuation, a sequel series, if you will. And it's because of this that after this first episode, we have no idea what's going to happen next. We have a general idea of the premise, but don't know as the audience what will happen, and that's a great hook. It's this unknown factor that's been keeping me coming back every single week and wanting to keep up with the series to see what happens next to Fushi, and see all the amazing things he sees and all the people he meets. Honestly, I love this series so far. It's definitely one of my favorites in an already amazing season of anime, and it's just breathtaking, and I honestly can't wait to see where the story goes from here. If I had to rate the series, I'd give it probably an A-, mainly because it hasn't finished yet, and I don't want to hold my breath that it's not going to be as strong as a finish. And I also have nothing to really reference it on because it's the first video I've done ranking these, and yeah, I feel uncomfortable giving it anything higher, but I feel like that's a good spot. Anyways, on that note, that is the end. Thanks for watching this far if you're seeing this. I hope you have a great day, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. I plan on trying to do more of this stuff. And yeah, you enjoy the rest of your day. How do I end this?